is DVarol. I'm a registered dietitian and I'm delighted to share with you today one of my favorite plant-based recipes. It's a traditional Turkish dish called mercimek köftesi, also known as lentil and bulgur patties. I love this recipe because, of course, it's healthy, it's a one-pot dish, and the presentation is elegant. The basis of this dish are red lentils and bulgur. For those of you who aren't used to eating beans, lentils are a great place to start. They are easier to digest than larger beans, and they cook quite quickly from dry with no need for overnight soaking. Now, bulgur is a whole grain that comes in a variety of textures. For this recipe, ensure that you use this fine textured bulgur. The first step is to water saute a half a cup of chopped white onions and, of course, a half a cup of water using standard measurements. Let that saute for 10 minutes, a good 10 minutes with the cover on. After all of the water has evaporated and the onions are fully cooked, you want to add tomato paste, a good quality tomato paste like this, and 3 tablespoons worth. Let that cook for an additional 2 minutes so that the flavor of the tomato paste comes out as well. Then you're ready for your lentils. A half a cup of red lentils. Make sure you wash these before you use them and you strain them in a fine strainer like this. And you're ready to add these to your pot, as well as 2 cups, using standard measurements again, 2 cups of cold water. You will then cover the lid and just put that on the stove again, turning the heat up to high. As soon as that pot comes to a boil, turn it down to a medium-low heat and let it cook for a good 20 minutes. That will allow for your lentils to thoroughly cook and for most of the water to evaporate. At that point, you're ready for your fine bulgur. This as well you want to wash and strain again through a fine strainer like this. And there's a little more bulgur in this recipe than there are lentils, 3/4 of a cup compared to a half a cup of lentils. Now, don't turn on the heat anymore. Just cover the lid and let it sit. The residual heat and moisture from the lentils is more than enough to cook this fine bulgur. So in the end, obviously this has cooled thoroughly because I can handle it. In the end, your mixture will look like this. So after 10 minutes after adding the bulgur, you want to fork it with a fork so that there are no clumps. And just to recap, what we have in here are the cooked onions with the tomato paste. That gives it a nice reddish color. The lentils that have cooked, and the last addition was the fine bulgur. And now that this has thoroughly cooled, as you can tell, I'm ready to use it as my mixing bowl, hence one-pot dish. The other ingredients I have to add are a half a cup of finely chopped green onions, 1 cup of finely chopped parsley. I have 2 tablespoons of freshly squeezed lemon juice. And finally, my spices, which will give this dish great flavor. I have a 1/4 teaspoon of cumin, a half a teaspoon of paprika, a half a teaspoon of dried mint, salt and pepper to taste. I've used about a 1/4 teaspoon of each, but it's really up to you. Of course, when it comes to salt, the less amount you use, the better. And just a hint of spicy ground red pepper, just to give it a little kick. So all of this goes into the pot, and I am using my hands. My hands are clean. This is what you have to do with this dish. You just have to get right in there with your hands. It's the best and only way to do it because you actually want to work this almost like a dough. The resultant consistency will be something like a cookie dough, in fact. So once this is all mixed, which it pretty much is, I'm going to take about 2 tablespoons of mixture in my hand and just give it a nice firm squeeze. And that it's important because the resultant shape will take on the indent of my fingers. Now, from one batch of this recipe, you get about 15 patties, and I have some already prepared. This is what the final presentation looks like. They're served on a bed of romaine lettuce with lemon wedges, because as you take one, you squeeze some lemon on it and you enjoy it that way. As we say in Turkish, afiyet olsun, which means bon appetit. To end this video, I just want to say that the more whole plant-based foods we eat, the better for our health. I hope I've inspired you to try this and other plant-based dishes. Thank you.